Welcome everyone to this webinar organized by Optilogic and ORTEC. We're excited to have you all here. Thank you for making the time participating in this webinar. The webinar will last approximately 40 to 45 minutes. We are planning on having 5-10 minutes for Q&A at the end of the presentation. So please feel free during the presentation to type your questions in the Q&A chat, and we will try to address as many as we can during the time limit that we have. We can begin the webinar. I would like to start the webinar with a very simple question. The question is, how often do strategic decisions and daily operations truly operate as one system in your organization? That question is exactly why we are, with Optilogic and ORTEC, excited to share that we are partnering to address a challenge that we consistently see across supply chains, which is the disconnect between supply chains, design, and daily execution. And that exactly will be the topic of today's webinar. And I welcome you to enjoy it the same as we enjoy our partnership so far and the value that we see from it. The speakers for today will be three. Will be myself. I am George Ninikas, over 15 years at ORTEC, located in Atlanta, USA, and I'm currently fulfilling the role of Senior VP of Sales and Accounts for ORTEC Supply Chain Americas.
And I'm Vlot, VP AI and Decision Intelligence at ORTEC's Data Science and Consulting Division, here for about 10 years. And within our division, we use the Optilogic platform to deliver tailored planning solutions to our clients.
And I'm Joris Wijpkema at Optilogic. I'm Executive Vice President for Solutions and Strategy.
Thanks, gentlemen. I hope you enjoy the ride as much as we. The agenda for today's webinar will be short and sweet. So we will be addressing first the reason of introducing that partnership in the market and what is the gap that we're trying to fulfill. Then ORTEC and Optilogic will dive one level deeper a little bit on our propositions, and then we'll try to bring everything together of how we can link the strategy and execution. But first, I think it's good if we start of why, what is the main challenge we're addressing. So traditionally, and probably everybody attending here know that, you have two pillars. You have the supply chain design on the one hand, on the left hand here, what you see, and on the right hand, you have the daily planning optimization. The supply chain design and the daily planning optimization typically run in isolation. You have different teams, different time horizons, of course, and most of the times different tools as well. The strategy, in this case, defines the structure, and operations, they need to ensure that they can make it work. But here's the reality. Execution cannot fix a flawed strategy. If your network design decision lock you into suboptimal locations, capacity, or even flow structures, even the most advanced daily optimization engine cannot undo that, right? Optimization then can only optimize within the boundaries it's been given. For example, you may have designed a network that you try to minimize the fixed cost, and that means you have designed fewer distribution centers or fewer regional distribution centers. On paper and from supply chain design point of view, in isolation, this looks extremely efficient. In reality, though, distances increase, the service levels to the customer suffer, and the daily planning is forced to compensate for a structural decision or for a structural flaw. Now, true performance can happen when strategic network design, S&OP decisions, and daily execution are connected, not sequentially, but synchronized. And this is exactly what we try to accomplish together with Optilogic and ORTEC, where Optilogic can bring into play long-term structural design, what-if scenarios, scenario modeling, network and inventory strategy, and then ORTEC, coming from the right-hand side, focus on operational optimization, where we can translate strategy into executable high-performance daily decisions. Together, ORTEC and Optilogic, we believe we can close the loop so that strategic decisions are stress-tested against operational reality, and operational insights inform future strategy. We truly believe then that when strategy and execution speak basically the same language, transformation accelerates. This is where the magic happens. And the message, one quick message that we would like to give is that we truly believe in a market where companies feel that they design what they can execute and execute what they have designed. This is mainly the challenge that we're trying to address. Deep diving a little bit more on allow me to call it the right-hand side, the ORTEC product suite. So within ORTEC, we offer primarily two types of solutions available for routing and transportation. As we said, we focus primarily on last mile, on execution, on daily planning optimization, and we do that primarily in two areas, in the B2B delivery and in the B2C delivery, business to business and business to consumer. On the B2B area, we address challenges such as grocery store delivery, food and beverage distribution, finished goods logistics, and downstream distribution for gas, fuels, and more or less energy-related companies. While on the B2C area, we focus more on e-grocery delivery, e-commerce, and parcel delivery, more direct-to-consumer areas. These, while they seem similar, they are very different areas because also the objectives that we're trying to approach or facilitate are different. On one hand, you're trying to ensure cost-effective, sustainable operations, while on the other hand, you're really looking into customer satisfaction and cost effectiveness on the last mile direct-to-consumer environment. In the supply chain world around us, everybody knows, and we've seen already, that the puzzle is getting more and more complex. In the past, we have focusing traditionally in minimizing bottom line cost, on minimizing easier cost of delivery. However, in recent years, regardless of the industry, all leaders are consistently focused in a multi-objective problem in various dimensions. Normally, we can illustrate them as 4 dimensions. One is, of course, the cost of delivery. The second is the customer satisfaction or the service levels. Another one is driver happiness, making sure that your drivers can implement reliable plans and they stay within the company, they stay happy. And then, of course, the 4th dimension is the environmental impact. Make sure that you offer sustainable operations. The challenge here is that all these objectives are interconnected and often conflicting. So someone can say that we're actually looking at a new optimum, finding a new balance, not just minimize costs or delivery, but actually orchestrating all these objectives at the same time in order to strike the best balance between all of those. Based on that, within ORTEC, we have transitioned into end-to-end solution offering. So we are not focusing only on what you see on the orange part, on the daily optimization, where you just get your orders, you plan them, execute them, monitor them. But we want to go 1 level deeper, 2 levels deeper, excuse me. One is before these operations take place, where we would like to simulate and model the upcoming operations for the next month, the next period. But also when the day stops, after operations, we would like to use this data to continuously analyze them and improve the future planning rounds. And this is exactly in these areas where we would like to enhance our capabilities together with OptiLogic, where we would like to offer additional capabilities to be able to link daily execution, reality with strategy, what we mentioned before. If I deep dive a little bit deeper on the B2B world, let's say, which is a very large, of course, territory, because many companies, this applies to many companies out there. The B2B environment is getting also more and more complex. You have pallet optimization, load optimization, route optimization, scheduling, alignment through various stakeholders like sales, reps, merchandisers, etc., execution monitoring. You need to do this all under one framework. Optimization now cannot just produce a theoretical plan, but it must create an executable and reliable plan. Oftentimes also dealing with softer elements such as driver familiarity, making sure, for instance, that the driver can comply to that plan. So optimization now, and this is where we are working intensively now, is that we're trying to move into a direction where optimization, of course, is producing as much reliable results as possible. And another example that I can give here can be, for example, the traffic. When we produce routes or routing plans, we need to ensure that those results are that those routes are reliable. On top of it, we need to ensure that these solutions offer visibility, process standardization, and collaboration throughout the various stakeholders. In order to make it a little bit more concrete and not, of course, offer too much functional information within a few minutes, we have decided to do this with a case study or with an example. In that particular case, or in general in the food and beverage world, if we look at it under the microscope a little bit as a case study or as an example, we see that companies come to us with these high-level questions. Are we structurally set up the right way? Do we have all the drivers visiting the right areas? Are we planning on a daily level the most efficient way? Do we have full visibility and control of what's happening, of our performance? And are we continuously learning and improving? How can we address these questions in very quickly? So we are using, for illustration purposes, of course, we are using the loop that I mentioned earlier. So the first question, are we structurally set up the right way? In that, this is something that you typically address on a weekly, monthly, seasonally, quarterly level, where you try to address questions like how do my territories look like, and how can I have some master routes in order to balance the workload between my drivers for every Monday or Tuesday in the following week, in the following month, excuse me. Then, if you move into the actual daily operations, you need to address questions like, am I planning and executing in the most efficient way? This is on a daily basis, where you address questions like, how can I optimize my routes? How do I ensure that those routes are loaded in a feasible manner? To consider, for instance, compartment limitations or axle weights, which is very important, because then actually all the route goes to waste. You need to replan it. Then we need to ensure that all these plans are disseminated appropriately to the various stakeholders. That can be the warehouse, your carriers or subcontractors, your admin, your customer support, etc. During execution now, in real time, we need to ensure that we provide the appropriate tools for these customers to be able to analyze information, to offer the capabilities to the drivers for proof of delivery and monitor how the drivers are executing the result. The customers be able to locate where is their order, and of course control tower capabilities for the warehouse or the dispatching office to have full visibility of what is happening in real time. At the end of the day now, we need to provide appropriate tools to measure and control the performance, because of course what you cannot measure, you cannot control. That's commonly known. And then at the end, we need to enable AI-enabled review, where we do not just report what happened, but we identify structural improvements for the future planning rounds. And this is where we introduce AI. On that area, together with the area of preparation, this is where exactly where we focus on collaborating close with Optilogic and enable AI-driven analysis to be able to synchronize operational decisions with strategic ones. The future of routing and transportation is not about isolated optimizers. It's about integrated decision systems where strategy, planning, and execution reinforce each other. That's our vision. And when, of course, organizations connect these layers, they can move into a situation where they can reduce cost, improve service, empower their drivers, and make sustainability measurable, not just aspirational. I will stop here. I hope that was clear in a few minutes, and pass it on to my colleague Joris to hear the proposition from Optilogic point of view.
Absolutely. Thank you, George. Hello, everyone. I'd love to take this opportunity to introduce the Optilogic platform and capability to you, and how we see the collaboration with ORTEC bringing even more value to our customers. Maybe just as an introduction for those who don't know Optilogic. At Optilogic, we are building the world's most advanced supply chain design and optimization platform. So across different functions, we have the ambition to ensure that you can build a digital representation for optimization and design of your supply chain in just a day. Many times nowadays, it still takes many weeks or many months even. We see this heading more and more towards hours or just a day. And we do that by increasing the implementation of AI to take care of a lot of the drudgery of that work, For example, we're rolling out more and more AI-enabled tools that eliminate 80% of the data prep and solves a lot of the missing data problems. We are also the first cloud-native platform in this space, and we have team collaboration functions that allow you to really collaborate across regions, across different levels of the organization, which really helps solve kind of the issue of getting the right talent in the right place. And then finally, because we are on the cloud, we also have access to immense amounts of compute at the click of a button. And so where previously you were limited by what your laptop or your desktop could run, now you have access to really large machines with up to 2 terabytes of memory, and you can run digital representations of models of your supply chain that do millions of SKUs and billions of orders. So with this capability, what can you do? Well, you can do a wide range of applications across different time horizons within the supply chain. So if we start at the top around strategic supply chain design, this is kind of our original home, if you will, right? So supply chain design, network optimization, right-sizing your supply chain, getting the locations of distribution centers right, helping to decide where and how to add manufacturing capacity, production lines, tariff optimization, using simulation to get at risk and resilience. But as the compute power has increased and we can model at much more granular level, and we're on the cloud and we enable collaboration, we've seen a major shift into planning applications as well. So more and more of our customers are taking this capability into monthly S&OP or IBP cycles for production planning, inventory optimization, logistics planning, demand modeling, and even down to the weekly and sometimes daily execution of S&OE, rapid production replanning to take advantage of different shifts in demand or protect against risks. However, when we look at transportation, this is an important call out. When we look at transportation, there is a lot of detail and important specifics that you have in transportation when it comes to that weekly and daily execution. Very specific vehicle requirements. Maybe you have hazardous materials, driver versus truck separation. When it comes to that daily, weekly execution, that we found is where ORTEC really, really excels, and why we're so excited about partnering with ORTEC so that we can really help take you and bridge you all the way to the execution and have one consistent way across the 2 platforms to go all the way from designing your supply chain to planning on a monthly and weekly basis into the weekly and the daily execution. How do we do this at Optilogic? How do we tackle these problems? Well, we do this primarily by bringing 3 different technologies, which we call the technology triple threat. First one is AI. I've talked about this. So agentic AI for data manipulation, creating models, but also on the back end of running models, distilling the insights and understanding what to do, getting to real recommendations, executive level synthesis. The second one is optimization. So this is the hardcore math that powers getting to the right answer for your supply chain. These are advanced algorithms that really find the best answer within realistic, real-world constraints for your supply chain. This also means that the type of optimization that you get and the answer that you get is hard math. It is not prone to any type of risk of hallucination or just based on historical pattern building. No, it's really given your digital supply chain representation, what is the absolute best that you can do with it? And then finally, simulation. And this is where you can master uncertainty, you can really stress test designs, you can quantify risk by running actual sequence of orders from the last 12 months of orders in your supply chain through this new supply chain design that you've made and see how it performs. Or even think about, well, what if this happened? Well, we can simulate that too and really test the kind of the outliers as well as the normal. There's 4 components of the OptiLogic platform. The first one is Cosmic Frog. This is our product where this is the heart where you build your digital twin, you build your model or digital representation of your supply chain, and this is where our optimization engine sits. So for network optimization, simulation, production planning, routing optimization at the monthly and annual level in particular to kind of right-size your fleet and things like that. The second one is DataStar. DataStar connects Cosmic Frog to the outside world, to systems, to files that you may have, any type of data that you want to flow in and that you need to build your model. And DataStar has a lot of functionality to help cleanse your data, augment data, to fill in gaps, do the required transformations to build the model. But also at the back end, there's utilities for doing results analysis, automatically building reports, creating those advanced insights, and you can even build your custom agents within these DataStar pipelines. The third component is custom apps, and this is where you can start to connect the power of these digital models and the data pipelines to business users outside of the power users that would be using Cosmic Frog and DataStar. So the business users could be a supply chain executive, it could be a planner, it could be a transportation coordinator somewhere out in the distribution center. Custom apps that allow for business user interactions. So for additional data input and selection, for evaluating different scenarios that would have come out of the model runs, for visualizing those, and for actual decision making and feeding those back into the models. And then finally, all of this is powered by our agentic AI platform, Leapfrog AI, which really accelerates everything that we do. So getting faster from data to model, helping to do scenario generation and evaluations, getting faster from model to insights, and for any type of modeling assistance along the way. As an example of how our customers use this platform, I thought it was timely to call out an example of how you can do this to better handle with all of the tariff changes that keep coming. And so this is a very large global engineering company, a tier 1 supplier. They have a wide range of manufacturing facilities across the globe. They source from almost every country under the sun. They have really extensive BOMs, up to 17 million parts. And what they've done is they've built a full representation of their supply chain and built AI-enabled models to do full inbound tariff impact evaluation, including things like free trade zone benefits. And so now with that, they can both, if changes happen, really quickly see what the impact is across their supply chain, what it is to their different products and their cost to serve in different areas. But they can also immediately see what options they have to mitigate those tariffs, to source from different vendors, or to evaluate, well, what if I move some of my demand here because now that's a more profitable market to serve than this one that was before. And they estimate they have more than $10 million in tariff avoidance already from having this capability. And I'm sure that as things go on, they will get more of that. So that's in a nutshell, a little bit about our platform capabilities and how our customers are using it. We really look forward to integrating this further with the ORTEC capability into the weekly and daily routing and loading capability. I'll hand it over to Sander.
All right. Thanks, Joris. Let me take control. All right, so why are we here and bringing this story about linking strategy to execution? I think George and Joris already explained quite a lot about it, but I'd like to go a little bit deeper still. Most companies or many companies treat network design as a one-off, isolated strategic exercise, whereas it's quite important to see the network design in a bigger picture that involves multiple planning processes and each covering different kinds of decisions. So first of all, and this is really Optilogic's territory, the strategic network design addresses questions like where to open and close DCs, who to serve from where, what to make where. But if we look down the chain, we have sales and operations planning operating on a tactical horizon up to roughly 1.5 to 2 years on aggregated product level, covering questions like how much to produce per product family, how to resolve capacity imbalances, and where and how much inventory to hold. And then more detailed planning processes like production planning, material requirements planning, distribution requirements planning, and inventory management address even more detailed decisions, but all still on a product volume level. Before we get into routing and transportation, the core of ORTEC's products that are about planning trucks. And it's important to realize that if this chain is disconnected, you can't really know how good your decisions actually are. So from a routing and transportation perspective, your route efficiency can only be as good as the upstream network it operates on and the flexibility it provides. Whereas from the other angle, from strategic network design perspective, the network can look good on paper, but if it relies on invalid assumptions about downstream planning processes, or if it isn't robust against the uncertainty that typically kicks in reality, or the inventory and transportation policies that come with the optimized network aren't effectuated, the outcomes are on paper only, and there's no real value add. So therefore, it's key to connect these processes. So before optimizing trucks, or actually any other form of transportation, we need to optimize product flows, and that requires connecting strategic design to tactical and operational planning already. And here we recognize that upstream planning processes set the boundaries for downstream planning processes. So for example, strategic network design determines the network structure for sales and operations planning, or integrated business planning if you also included your financial planning. And sales and operations planning determine the aggregate volumes that are used in detailed planning. And while these links are typically there, it is important to realize that the feedback loop is as important and typically missing, which makes it quite difficult to know whether strategic planning sets the right boundaries for effective tactical and operational planning, and also how much effect uncertainty, which is always there, has on the overall network performance. So the modern decision-making toolbox doesn't only contain optimization algorithms, but also simulation, or digital twins, if you will. And machine learning and large language models play all a very important role. Machine learning and LLMs play a very important role in preparing the right data, which can be structured or supposedly structured, unstructured, and also for enriching it with predictions and forecasts. Simulation, on the other hand, is used to validate strategic and tactical decisions against the operational reality. And while this sounds maybe as a rather technical exercise, it actually triggers quite a lot of business and alignment discussions. Because finally, there is some insight in how different planning processes, of which we roughly knew how they should interact in theory, interact in reality. And what this means in terms of KPIs to steer at or restrictions to adhere to. And we've encountered situations where decisions that were made upstream, so in design, for example, were completely ignored by operations because they were unworkable in the rapidly changing environment that is happening in operations. So there goes your network design. And we've encountered other situations where internal service level agreements and inventory policies of the category set and forget kept the entire supply chain busy in firefighting mode, while nobody exactly understood why. So therefore, it is key to connect, but also to investigate the interaction between these processes, and simulation plays a very important role there. So why am I telling you all this? Because beyond our best-in-class routing and transportation that George told you about, ORTEC's Data Science and Consulting division, which I'm representing here, has extensive experience in designing, building, and implementing tailored solutions for these applications, like network design, sales and operations planning, integrated business planning, and supply planning. And while our end product typically involves software, we also help with connecting and aligning the involved planning processes, and as part of that, help you with identifying misaligned processes, KPIs, and setting them right. And in larger change programs, we also work in collaboration with the bigger consultancy firms there. And although we do a whole range of things, we excel in supporting organizations that want to go beyond standard planning processes. So we build software that differentiates them from their competition. And to name a couple of examples, we've built network design and sales and operations planning tooling for organizations that run circular supply chains, where the emphasis is on the reverse part of the supply chain with limited visibility. For another client, we've implemented the European sales and operations planning layer on top of their existing country-level sales and operations planning to gain cross-border benefits, and a tactical material requirements planning solution that helps them plan packaging changeovers with minimum obsolete materials in their whole supply chain. And for 2 other clients, we've implemented production and inventory planning applications in international supply chains with very long and highly variable lead times, just to name a couple of examples. So ORTEC goes beyond only transportation and routing. And there also OptiLogic plays a very important role. Because why did we choose for the OptiLogic platform? Well, because it is a state-of-the-art cloud-native network design and planning solution, all based on Python, which is the most popular language at the moment, which also a huge ecosystem to rely on. Secondly, OptiLogic's view on combining AI optimization and simulation is in line with ORTEC's view on it, which I also covered in the previous slide. Third, it offers a unified and flexible data model for integrating planning across these different horizons that is also flexible enough for the planning challenges that we encounter at our clients. And last but not least, we value the extensive possibilities for further modeling and integrating into tailored supply chain planning solutions, as we also like to deliver to our clients. Therefore, together, OptiLogic and ORTEC deliver to you confident decision-making across an aligned and connected chain. And you see here the same questions as on my first slides, but now nicely lined up in an aligned supply chain. And in our alliance, ORTEC designs and builds the planning applications, while OptiLogic provides the engine for the planning of product volumes in the supply chain, and ORTEC's routing and transportation software takes care of the planning of the trucks. So with us, you can start small, but also go all the way up to the fully integrated supply chain. And together, we therefore connect strategy to execution. And with that, I'd like to go back to Joris.
Thank you, Sander. So just to wrap it up, hopefully you get a sense for how on a technical basis, ORTEC and Optilogic can create a lot more value for you. But I'd also like to call out why we're excited about this, because we think it's a very good cultural fit between our 2 companies. We're both deeply rooted in operations research, and we get very excited about solving the most difficult supply chain problems. We also super collaborative, and we get really excited about impact. And last but certainly not least, both of our companies care deeply about our customers, taking care of our customers, making sure our customers are actually successful. And I think all those 3 combine for a very successful partnership foundation, and we're really excited to see where this can take us. So with that, maybe we switch to some questions and answers.
Thank you, Joris and Sander. That was great. I hope everybody got some insight of how this is looking like. Of course, I must mention at this stage that this partnership is relatively new. So we are working together for 2 months, and everybody, our engineering teams, are full throttle in the game, in the race, on trying to integrate our solutions and finding ways to complement each other in a structured way. And this is, let's say, work in progress, but we have the vision, we have the attitude, we know the challenge that we're trying to address, and we're very excited about it. And of course, we have all the leadership buy-in from both companies. I will start with a couple of questions on the few minutes that we have left. If everybody have still a few minutes, maybe I will take, first of all, one question to you, Joris, that we got offline from some questions that we got before the webinar. And that question was, how will AI transform network modeling in the future? And the actual question was, in 5 to 10 years, maybe. I'm not sure if you really want to address that time horizon, but up to you.
If I, at this point in technology, could predict what the world looks like in 5 to 10 years, that would be quite something. Regardless, though, we believe AI is going to have a really major impact on the field of supply chain, the field of supply chain design and optimization. And as you already heard in this presentation, we're very much on the forefront of building that into our platform. But if you kind of play out what we think that will look like, so the first stages will be to make things easier and take a lot of the more mundane steps out of the process and really accelerate the timeline for model building and extracting insights. And we think already that will be super helpful. But over time, as the capabilities increase, and you're starting to see some of this in the software engineering space with things like Vlot code and codecs, we think more and more AI can play the role of an analyst and become more of a thought partner for you in how you design your supply chain. Actually, almost completely take away some of the modeling and interact more with you around the key design decisions and the assumptions to be made, and that real life connection and the context and business understanding that you have. Those will come from you, but it'll be more an interactive way of getting to an answer. And so that's really where we see AI integration increasingly going over the next few years.
Perfect. Maybe to add a little bit on that. So I really recognize automating the mundane part of the work, but specifically in supply chain, I think that has to do a lot with data collection. And I've seen so many supply chain planning processes where, the mathematics or the optimizer was not really the bottleneck, but also all the unstructured data that was still going through emails or through phone calls and containing essential information to do the planning right. And I think that large language models can play a vital role in, also bridging the gap there, actually. Multiple bridges that we can gap, or multiple gaps that we can bridge. Yeah.
Correct. And maybe I can also add something here that how I look at it basically, as well as like on supply chain design decisions, where you typically look at them from a helicopter view, 50,000 feet view, where you try to design things. AI can help being a kind of an express lift or an express elevator, or a specific decision that you're planning on taking, move it down to earth, move it down to the ground, stress test it basically with the real operational tools, and then move it back to the helicopter to continue those decisions or simulations or strategy. And that's what we're trying to bridge here with the two basically tools, or with the two companies. Thank you, Joris. Maybe a couple more questions. I've been receiving some questions on the chat. For example, how would ORTEC's strategic planning tool align with the usage of Optilogic, and what integrations are available today to make data flow seamless with B2B? We are very much aware and actually happy about that fact that between the companies there are some overlap. So actually, both companies are trying to approach that middle layer, the SOP, or sometimes called tactical planning. I don't want to put a definition to it, but not a very high level, but also not the daily level. And this is where actually we're trying to collaborate stronger and position to the market a fit for purpose solution depending on the challenge that we have at hand. So this is, allow me to call it, work in progress. We're trying to figure out all those details together between the companies, and our engineering teams are on it. Maybe last question from Andre. On what level, hi Andre, by the way, good to see you. On what level does the Cosmic Frog routing optimization aligns with ORTEC day-to-day routing optimization? Has the partnership shown the correlation between plan and actual? I think again, this falls under the category of what we've discussed earlier, that this is a work in progress. We have very good ideas on how to approach it and how to connect the two solutions with each other. If someone wants to add any more to that, maybe Joris or Sander.
Yeah, it's early in the partnership, but we're actually in the process of actually mapping out how the full integration of the platforms will work. This is a technical problem that's very solvable. And
Correct.
so we will be able to do that very quickly, and that really will allow you to get consistent integrated routing capability across the different time horizons without you as a user or as a customer having to worry about how that data integration happens.
Excellent. I think that's, let's leave it up to that. The presentation and the recording will be made available offline, of course, maybe later this day or tomorrow. So for everyone that would have time to join or that would like to revisit this presentation, and of course, all of us who will be very happy and very willing to connect with all of you. Here you can find some possible connection points with all three of us. But anyways, we're very well connected with each other. So whoever you can reach, this will go across to the others as well. Really, thank you very much for joining. We really hope that you found it very useful, very meaningful, insightful for everyone. And again, happy to address any questions offline on another dedicated ad hoc session. Looking forward to seeing you to the next. Thank you all and have a great day.
Yes.
Bye-bye.
Thanks.